I'm Gordon McCann.
Got any more of these?
Yeah. Cheers. I'm Gordon McCann, and this is Art Galbraith. We're bona fide natives. Who we got here? Who are you?
My name's Craig.
Where from?
I'm from Nevada, Missouri.
Oh yeah. Musician. I can't remember who it is. Well, we've known some fiddlers from up there. We've run into them before. Yeah. Up in that part of the country, but I can't. And there's the Right Reverend Pierce Clemp.
Springfield, Missouri.
And you're, and you're from?
Me. I'm Nola Peck. I was old from Nixie.
Yeah, that's good. And you all just said you just moved there?
We're just ready.
So what you said.
We're from Buffalo. We're about ready to move to
Lord, Dallas County.
Yeah.
And some wild ones here today. Oh, you remember when was it? We magazine came out with their article?
Oh, well, I don't know. I haven't been there for about 5 years.
Oh, well, no. We magazine was a part of the Playboy empire.
Oh.
And they sent some guy around the country to, he took all the towns that were named Buffalo, and then he wrote a little bit about each one, you know.
I hadn't heard about
And so he came through Buffalo, and people said, oh, we're going to be written up in the national magazine. And they thought W.E. was what it was, see, like People magazine. They thought we was going to be We the People. And of course, it's O-U-I is what it was. But boy, when it came out, don't think it didn't go off the newsstand in a hurry. I don't mean they bought it. I mean it was pulled off in a hurry when they found out it what he wrote about Buffalo. He said where they'd rather, let's see, cut up people than dance or something like that, you know. Yeah, something that wasn't exactly true.
Burley Henson from Springfield.
Springfield, and this doctor.
And I'm Kenny Nabb, who's
Originally
from California, but I'm originally
from here. His father was my doctor for a number of years, and I'm still here, so that speaks well. Kenny. These are new strings I put on last week. But we'll just do what really we do all the time is go to people's houses, and you've been to them, and they still do. They just sit around in a circle. Best acoustics are in the kitchen, but we usually move into the living room if there's too many people show up, you know. But a lot of houses, they'll go ahead and they'll pull the furniture out, won't they? And get rid of the rugs and the chairs and all that. If they've got room for dancing, they'll have that, you know. So we're not really performing. We're just...
Leslie Hagwood. Did you ever know him, Blang?
Well, Leslie Hagwood. Oh, yeah.
He's my first cousin.
Wow, there's a bunch of Hagwood still. We'll just play you kind of now don't even ask for Orange Blossom Special, because if we were professional, we'd have to learn to play it, but we don't play it. And very few fiddlers like to play it, but what we'll do is we'll just play you a mixture of the different types of music that will identify old-time fiddling as opposed to Branson and opposed to a lot of this other contest fiddlings and everything. And you got to keep in mind that everything we play is a dance tune, and it was originated for dancing, not for you people to ever sit and listen. You were supposed to be out here dancing, whether it was a square dance or whether it was a reel or a quadrille or a Schottische or a polka or whatever. And so all these tunes that's why you tap your foot to them. They all have a beat to them. Of course, the waltz is not quite that much, but so let's see, we'll start, and these tunes too are easily traceable back to the 1700s, because the only reason they don't go further than that is the 16 and 1700s is when they first started printing music, and that's the first time we can actually identify a tune, and they change very much. They'll modify them and create new tunes, but just what we're going to start with Leather. We'll start off one called Leather Britches, that if you're in England right now, in Ireland, it's called Lord MacDonald's Reel, but it's the same tune again. reels and hornpipes used to be different many, many years ago, but what we did when we got them over here, and we took the French country dances, contra dances, and we sped them up to square dance, and so they took the hornpipes and the reels and they sped them up to complement the square dances, and so we call them podemos. So most of these tunes that are a hornpipe or reel are played like that, much faster than the originals were. Let's see. Green. Let's see. Let's play a hornpipe. I'll play, what do you want to play? Fishers? Here, this is one that's, has nothing to do with fishing, and it's really A-R-apostrophe-S, and the reason it's that way is because a man named Fisher back in 1780 put together a book of songs, and this was one of his unnumbered hornpipes, and so they just call it Fisher's Hornpipe, which was in Fisher's book. So we'll tell them what the name really is. Century almost now. We'll play you one that comes out of the first of this century. That's another type of tune evolved around the turn of the century and on up into the 5'2" Eyes of Blue. That was a little before that. That's Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, but that's a different one than you all are used to. There's a whole bunch of those tunes. We'll play another one here since we're there. The Scott Joplin type tunes. And this one, anybody know who Percy Winrick was? Percy Winrick was a songwriter, lived in Joplin, Missouri. And we'll play one here he wrote called Dixie Blossoms. But he also wrote Put On Your Old Gray Bonnet, When You Wore a Tulip, On Moonlight Bay. And all you ever hear about is Scott Joplin, and here Percy Wendrick wrote every bit as many, and he's buried over here. He's got a little fence around his grave over there. We'll play Dixie Blossoms. We'll go back 100 years again.
Okay,
we'll just jump back again. That's right, that makes a difference. But after the mixture started coming in and really showing itself in this music, and a lot of it is black influence on the music, and then a lot of their music was back and forth. You know, they mixed it all up. So I don't think either one really contributed any more to the one than the other. I think they just really mixed the whole things up. But you had your minstrels began back at about the turn of the century, really the latter part of the 1700s and first the 1800s. So we'll play you one now that's a tune that it was copyrighted, which means it's older than that probably, in about 1832, and you'll recognize it. It's still, the notes are still exactly the same as they were. I feel fine, Doctor. We'll play Buffalo Gals, and then we'll play Put Slipping Golden Slippers there. like that when you get louder than they are. Well, that's amazing to me, and a lot of people don't realize how long these tunes hold. And this is all rote. This is all, I don't mean rote using bad English. I mean it's all by ear. Just rote learning is what it is. And even today, the young ones do, but very few of the older musicians read any music at all. Never have. In fact, a lot of old timers say readers never made good dance fiddlers because they're too regimented to the printed page, you know. But these things, that, like I say, that Buffalo Gals is the music on it's just exactly. So I'm told. I have a copy that was published in 1830 and the girl next door plays the piano, and it's just exactly like we play it now. You know. But of course, these tunes, somebody go. Hear a fiddler somewhere and they come back to their part of the country, and of course they didn't have any tape recorders, and they'd maybe hear two good tunes and they'd kind of mix them up, and next thing you know you've got another one, so you have thousands of these tunes, just literally thousands of them. And the thing that's changed it in modern days, and the reason these young musicians are so good, one thing is that they've got tape recorders and they can take a tune home with them and play it over and over and over, and so they really have learned a lot of. Their repertoires are really something. So let's see. I'll tell you another one that was play about this same era, the 1830s. Play him, not Natchez Under the Hill. What's the other one? Old Zip Coon.
Okay.
Old Zip Coon was a kind of a literature figure in literature and frontier literature, kind of like David Crockett is, and also he was a minstrel character. And so this tune is called Old Zip Coon, and you're gonna. Let's see, what's that in? Yeah. A little familiar to me. That's 1830. Now we're going up to 1867, and we'll play the one. And there's a couple in between the two. They had different names and in a different key. That's what I meant about these tunes, just going from one and just changing them a tiny bit. Now we'll play the one you're familiar with.
Well, I was going to say the same thing, because Turkey in the Straw, which you all know, but that version that I played is the older version of Turkey in the Straw. And now here's Turkey in the Straw. A couple more in between there that are almost the same. Well, let's see. About the middle of the last century, just before the Civil War, was a dance came to this country. Like I said, these are all dance tunes. That was really, in the South it was already popular and was becoming popular in the North and everything. And then after the war, it really became popular, and that's the waltz. And your traditional fiddlers, or what we call your old-time fiddlers, are a completely different world from what you'll hear on the strip down here. Now, a lot of these young people can do that, but they're not paid to do that. A lot of them go down there thinking they're going to get a job paid to do that. What they're paid to do is to play background music. Is what that's where they get hired down there, is to back up these singers and the lead guy if he plays the banjo or whatever. But all your old-time fiddlers, I don't care if he's what we call a plug fiddler. In other words, you can hardly tell what he's playing because it's so off-key, you know. He'll still have a repertoire that's going to contain hoedowns, and it's going to have a jig, and it's going to have a waltz, and one of these music hall type tunes like we played, that Twinkle, Twinkle and Dixie Blossoms. They'll all play at least one or two of those, won't they? That's really indicative of your old-time fiddling. So we'll play you a waltz now. The one that's real popular, that is Sheamus O'Brien, with a beautiful old Irish waltz. And we did too for a long time, until we found out it was written by a guy in Cincinnati in the 1860s. But it has words to it, and it comes from, I'm sure, from an Irish medley or melody. Lots of waltzes. And, oh yeah. They still do. You go down to the wildest places in the hills, and they may raise smoke off the floor dancing, but you play a waltz, and there'll be a bunch of them out there waltzing. And I'll tell you another dance that came into this country about that time, or actually before then, that it started in Scotland, and then it got popular in Europe, especially the Germans really liked it. And then the Germans called it a Schottische. That's German for Scottish. And for some reason, when they came back to the British Isles and back over to here, they kept the name Schottische. Now, we used to have a lot of Schottische in this part of the country. Occasionally, between sets of the square dance, you might still see a couple get out, but most of them, if you say do a Schottische, they'll do this Billy Bob two-step from Texas, you know. I mean, you can do that to the same rhythm. But it's really a pretty dance. Have any of you seen Schottisches, haven't you? Yeah. And I never really seen one until we were at some festival somewhere. Some people from western Kansas and also up in Nebraska, and a lot of your middle European settlers still do it. A lot of places, like a lot of your and some of your heavy German areas. We'll play a Schottische now called. Here's another thing about these names of these tunes. We'll play your Doc Jessup Schottische. Now, Doc Jessup was a medical doctor down at Cream, Missouri, and a fiddler. And he played this, and nobody knew the name of it, so they just call it Doc Jessup Schottische, and that's what you'll hear it called. Now, wait a minute. Young people probably they stand side by side and do it, you know, but I don't see how all I got to do is sit here, because all a guitar player is, all what we call ourselves, we're seconds is what they call us. That's what you call in the company in this type of stuff, you're a second. And all we really are is human metronomes. Now literally, that's exactly what we're doing. We're helping the lead musician keep time. So all I got to do is sit here and remember the chord progressions, but he's the one that knows about 350 tunes, and I don't see how they can keep them straight, but they do. And let's see, let's get to a jig, yeah. But what do we want to do? Start here on these, just to show you the history of these. We'll play the first 6/8 time jig we'll do. Is Over the Wire to Charlie's, which is was a tune that was in England back in the middle 1700s, and which was a reference to Bonnie Prince Charles, who was kicked out by the Jacobites when they came, you know, because he was a libertine. He's also the reason the fiddle became popular, more popular than it was, because they outlawed the bagpipe. If you've ever listened to much old-time fiddle music, you'll notice the similarity to the drones of your bagpipe. In fact, this was all bagpipe music at one time. And so his followers, though, he fled to France, and so their toast was Over the Water to Charlie's, which is over the English Channel to Charlie's, is what they were toasting, you know. So this is a jig time. Then we'll do another one at the end of it that you'll all recognize. It's still around. Off on the cotillion. Yes, I did. Start at D. Start off with Irish Washerwoman then. The first we started doing was a cotillion, which was another dance you used to have in the Ozarks, which was a line dance, like Virginia Reel. They used to do that. I don't know if they ever did that much in this part of the country. They did it probably in Springfield, places like that. I don't think they've ever settled down on that. Let's see. What else are we going to do here? We never had another type of music they'll play nowadays that has kind of come in recently, though, is also the polka. Now, we never had the polka in the Ozarks. You get up in northern Missouri, up around Iowa, and you get over in Illinois and Ohio and those places, and they play a lot of, and of course naturally when you get up into Michigan and Minnesota and Wisconsin, they play all polkas. We had what was called a Quickstep, which was one of these fast type of dances that has almost polka time. It's called Wideman's Quickstep. low end. Hey, something few of you realize, just from experience of just an average crowd in Springfield, not necessarily just Springfield, but in a lot of areas, is the number of fiddlers there still are around. There's literally hundreds of them. I can go down here. I can take you to a music party, except for Wednesday night, which is usually a church night, and Sunday nights they don't. But you know this because you've grown up here. I could take you to a music party just about anywhere in the Ozarks, any night of the week, at somebody's house, and never go more than 50 miles from Springfield. Now, we used to have a lot of them here, but so many of them are gone now that we used to play with and everything. And Springfield, there's just so many other diversions now that they don't do it like that. And it's too bad, really, because these are nice community things. I've never seen any problems in them, well, because we don't go where they're going to have problems. Because neither of us can run fast enough anymore if any trouble starts to get out of the way. But you've got all kinds of different fiddling going on now. I mentioned the young fiddlers down here. This kind of fiddling is waning, and someday will probably, the identity it has right now will probably be gone because it exists for dancing. Well, there's not the dancing like there used to be. It's a different type of dancing now. And so naturally, a lot of your young fiddlers are going to either go to contest fiddling, which is the worst thing they can do because they only have to learn about 15 tunes. Now, they'll play those 15 tunes better than you'll ever hear anybody play them because that's all they need, though, to win the contest, and they're making money. But if they're losing the variety in the large repertoires that they could have had. But so much for all that. Let's move up into this country and play something from another thing too on this type of fiddling. It ranges from, like I said, from way back up to contemporary times. Now I don't mean any of this rock and roll, but I'm talking, say, up to the 40s and 50s and around there.
Sensible music.
Yeah, listenable music, we'll put it that way, listenable music. But we'll play, they play a lot of the 5 foot 2 eyes of blues type of music. We'll play one now called, what is it? Me Too, that's a good one, yeah. Ranges from it's a lot. Let's see. Now we play. There's another style of fiddling in this part of the country that you'll run into a lot that is Texas style. It's called Texas swing or Texas style. And if you go to fiddle contest, that's what you hear the young ones playing, which is lots of notes. It's not danceable. It's not a danceable type. Well, down in Texas, I mean, like the way the Texans and the Oklahomas and all those people play over there. Now we'll play it, but we play at Ozarks stuff. If a Texan was here, they say, "Well, you're not playing that Texan because the Texans." Now see, from here up, my guitar is brand new. I'm what you call a crowfoot, which is typical Ozarks. I stay way down here, but you get to those, and they'll have a chord every tap of your foot. You know what they call bar chords. But we'll play you one now. A good one is called Beaumont Rag. Good.
that's a little different. But you can tap. One thing about this music, you can all tap your foot to it. There's not except for the waltz, it's just everything we play. And when we look out the audiences, I can just see the feet tapping away, you know. Let's see. What's anybody want to hear? Anybody know any tunes they want to hear? Yes, sir.
Well, what other countries is this music still being played in? I mean, if you
All Western civilization. In other words, all over Europe. They take different. If you read the real fiddlers, I mean, there's one town in Sweden that has 400 and something fiddlers. Everybody in town plays a fiddle. Everybody. And the Swedes and the Norwegians and the Finns all play the fiddle. In other words, this is the instrument of Western civilization. Next to the human voice, this is the most played instrument in Western civilization. And even now, when we went to Smithsonian last year, they had the part we were with. They always run about 2 or 3 different themes at their festivals, and one was Indonesia. And here was one of these Indonesian bands with the cymbals, you know, and all of this and everything. And there was a guy playing a fiddle back there, you know. And he had it open tuned, didn't he, some way? And I went over to ask him about it just to find out. I thought, well, does he play anything? But he was playing it more a chord here, in other words, is what he was doing. And he was, you know, like that. But it just amazes. Of course, the French, and really, and when we've been at festivals with people from South America, if they have any kind of dance band, Mexico, everybody knows they do, but you can go down to Peru and all that, and there'll be maybe these Indians or something, they'll be playing, they'll have a fiddle in their group, you know, playing it. Yes?
I'm from Clan McDonald, so let's hear Barbara Allen.
Well, I don't play Barbara Allen. A lot of songs don't, now he could play it like you would one finger on a piano. You know, just the melody. But a lot of songs don't lend themselves to playing. Now, a lot of these tunes have originally been songs too. Lots of them have, but you know, we don't know which one was. Yeah, we played that a while ago. Yeah, we played that. Let's see. Well, let's see. What's oh shoot. Let's see. I'm trying to think of something else that's. Well, they're probably, we haven't played these in a long time. Kind of your standards of this whole thing are tunes like 8th of January and Soldier's Joy, and we haven't played Marmaduke's Hornpipe. Now, Marmaduke's Hornpipe, of course, each area will give them their own name, and Marmaduke is a reference to Governor, first General, Confederate General, and then later Governor Marmaduke in Missouri. But, so I don't know what the name originally was. We'll play, it's called Marmaduke's Hornpipe. Bluegrass has come along for us, and a lot of things happen. You know, a violin expresses a lot of emotions, just about all of them, but it doesn't have a lot of volume by itself. And unless you get it in a large group, and unless they bug it, what we call bugging it, in other words, put a mic on it, you won't be able to hear it. And that's what's happened
Fiddle started out as an integral part of your bluegrass. In fact, it was a lead instrument. And then the banjo came in. And the banjo, there's just really no way to play a banjo quietly. I mean, with a resonator and a 5-string banjo. Now, they can play tenor banjos and the other kind, but a regular 5-string banjo is just, by nature, it's a loud instrument. So it's pretty well taken over as the lead instrument. Now, you get down in Cajun country, and the fiddle is still a lead instrument in things like we're doing right here, but you get in a Cajun band or something, and the accordion is pretty well taken over. And so things change as they go along, you know, and one reason has been, of course, the lack of volume on this. I'll tell you, here's one that a lot of bluegrassers play, and this is an old tune. They tell me I don't know that much about it. We haven't played in a long time, so I'll probably mess up. Play Blackberry Blossom.